in this night tonight. You feel me? To all my family out there, make sure y'all get over to my Patreon. You already know what it is. Link right there in the chat. Boom, it's right there in the video description. We got over 500 exclusive live streams, family. You already know it's fire, so don't even play yourself. Also, KingSeti.com online marketplace. That's where my DVDs, T-shirts, hoodies, African and Kemetic African and Kemetic jewelry. We got something over there I know you're going to like, family. Check us out. Also, make sure you get a video a thumbs up. Like it because you love it. Share it with your family and friends. I see Ray, you in the house. Yeah, Ray, I forgot you put the links in there. That's what's up. I just need to put that one so I can pin it to the top. You feel me? I appreciate you, good brother. And make sure y'all get over there, hit some of them links that Ray putting them in there, man. Hit a link. Support the general and the teachable joint is in there. Self-help programs designed by the general. You know it's off the chain. We got the 25 steps to the redemption of definitive black manhood. Fire. Still building on it. You got lifetime membership. Now let's jump right off into it because we got to deal with this now. That the ancient Egyptians and Kushites founded civilization in the Americas. We got to deal with that. A lot of people is fleeing from that. Where at this time it really cannot be disputed. It cannot be disputed. And I can just give you a quick synopsis of this. You see what I'm saying? I don't, this is on my sale. So of course I can't, get on my visuals like I need to get on my visual, but I can most definitely walk you down to where people, most of the scholars, they running and they hiding, but they throwing in the towel because they know that it's beyond any doubt that because some of these, there's no coincidences. You see, this shit is right and exact. And what a lot of people got to understand, it's just like America. America really is the blueprint of the modern world today. America, United States of America is the blueprint. When you look all around the world, the cities are designed like cities in America now. That's just all it is to it. If you go back 100 years, in all these countries all around the world, you will see they was in a more primitive state. That don't mean they was less than or whatever. That mean they was in a more primitive state. When you look at China, you can see they were into their traditional. If you go back 100 years, you will not even see a skyscraper in in China. You will not see a skyscraper in India. You will not see a skyscraper. Because you got to understand Chicago, the modern skyscraper. We are talking about the modern skyscraper. You will not see highways because they didn't even have automobiles. So when you look at the skyline of a city, downtown, modern downtown, highways, automobiles, traffic lights. You see what I'm saying? All how the urban design of America, you can see that the world is pattern itself after America. That's just all it is to it. Even Hollywood, they got Bollywood and all these other, they didn't have movies. They didn't even have movies. So even the modern movie is a manifestation of America. So, you got to understand in the same light that Egypt was the ancient model for nations all over the planet. That's just all it is to it. That's just all it is to it. And so when you look at, early America, we talking about the Olmec. Now, what went on before the Olmec, it's nothing that I could relate to so much because with the Olmec came a certain level of civilization that we don't have to, debate about. You see, because the one thing about civilization is that it's so profound. When you look at them goddamn, most of these downtowns, ain't nobody got interpret that for you. It's a presence that it has over people, that's so overwhelming that good goddamn well a level of knowledge was necessary to put that shit down there. Ain't nobody got to tell you, the advanced level of ingenuity and science and technology it would take to put something like that, in the sky. I remember when the first time I seen New York City, I couldn't believe it. You see, I couldn't believe it. It's just unbelievable to see that many goddamn skyscrapers, that many buildings. I mean, as far as the fucking eye could see, from one end of the goddamn, it goes on to the end of the world. You see what I'm saying? It's like you can't run out of buildings. When you look as far as you can see one way, and then you look the other goddamn way, as buildings as far as the eye can fucking see. You see, I never seen no shit like that. You feel me? And so that just, so the ingenuity it would take to put something like that on the planet. And so, now when you look at everybody else, how they got them goddamn skyscrapers. They got education from the West to put them goddamn sky. And I went through the research. You see, when you get to a certain level of what I call complex knowledge, and you got super complex knowledge, that means like them skyscrapers. Do you know how many sciences and technologies have to come together to build that one skyscraper? It could be over 100 different sciences. You see what I'm saying? Over 100 different sciences that got to come together to put that goddamn skyscraper in the sky. So that's a super complex knowledge. You see what I'm saying? And some of them sciences been developing for thousands of goddamn years. You see? They've been developing for thousands of goddamn years. So it ain't gonna just pop up. You see what I'm saying? If the goddamn West, and I did the research. So when you start talking about skyscrapers in Asia, the first city in Asia to build skyscrapers was Hong Kong. You know who put them there? A Western architectural firm coming from the West. You see what I'm saying? Coming from the West, even the Burj Khalifa. People don't know, even though it's the tallest building in the world, and it's over there in, what's that, Dubai? It's over there in Dubai. But a Chinese architectural firm put it there. You see, and they didn't even use Arab, workers. They went all the way over there into, I believe, Indonesia, somewhere over there, and got the workers because they had already, had some skills in working with some of them skyscrapers that was over there in Asia. So they didn't. So when you look at something, you think, oh, just because it's in Dubai, you would think maybe that the architects from Dubai had something to do with it. That the masons of Dubai put. Man, the fucking architects came from goddamn Chicago, and the people that built the motherfucker came from East Asia. So they didn't even have nothing to do with them, but it's in Dubai. So you have to understand that when you reach a certain level of a science, you ain't just going up and just, because it takes thousands of years for some of the sciences to develop. Okay, now the thing is, when you looking at the Olmecs, let's be clear about it. And I've been studying the Olmecs for a long time. And the first thing they did, because when I was over there, I was getting magazines. You see what I'm saying? That, and there was some, they had old news clippings about the Olmecs. And the crazy shit about it is that when they first uncovered that shit over there, they themselves put in the goddamn newspaper. I remember it clearly. It says, Egypto de Yucatan. That means Egypt in the Yucatan. So they was already comparing it to Egypt. Before any African scholars or anything, they were already comparing it to Egypt. And when I was there, I used to, I was, the fucking tour guide, he was so mad at me because I was just asking questions that was setting their ass on fire. And so they was mad at me. And so I had got to one site. and it was a tour guide on site. And I asked him, I say, man, you see all these pyramids. Do you believe the ancient Egyptians had something to do with it? And the first thing he said, that we used to believe that. That's what he said. We used to believe that, but then we found out different. I was like, well, what did you find out different? You see what I'm saying? What did you? So it told me that they already knew from their own consciousness what the fuck it was. Nah, the thing that they not the thing, look, not only do they got pyramids, this is what they used to say about the pyramids. They used to say about the American pyramids is that those was temples. You see? Yeah. Yeah, I was hacking his ass. I was hacking. That motherfucker was mad too. You see what I'm saying? I remember when we went to Levanta, that's where that's where the oldest pyramid was, at Levanta. And man, they brought us in, and it was a whole, like, you come into the front of it. They was giving us before we was going in the park, where all the megaliths was. The tour guide was giving us, like, in the front of the museum, they got some maps and shit. And so they brought all these, it was a large ass group. It had to be about 200-300 people. And man, listen, I had to be, it couldn't have been no more. Out of them 300 people, it couldn't have been no more than about 5 blacks. And so you could imagine, man, he had the pictures of the Olmec head up there. And he said, who do they look like? And man, I yelled out, African. Man, you can hear a goddamn a roach piss on cotton up in that motherfucker. Man, it was such a dead silence in that motherfucker. You could tell they was like, this nigga here. You see what I'm saying? Appreciate you, family. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Is that DP back in the house? No, that Donovan, it looked like him. He came back. I appreciate you, though, family. Man, them motherfuckers got so quiet. But the thing is that they used to say that the pyramids and I'll get on that is not really a true pyramid. But anyway, that the pyramids in America was temples, and the ones in Egypt was tombs. You see what I'm saying? Because they buried the kings in the pyramid until they found out in reality that they was burying them. Because I went to the one in Palenka, which was Pacal's tomb, where Pacal was buried down in the tomb. And the crazy shit, and I'm the only one that showed y'all that. When you look inside the pyramids, both of them got that L-shaped stairway in it that lead down to the king's chamber. You see what I'm saying? So that's not no coincidence. Got an L-shaped stairway in that pyramid. Both pyramids. You can look at the one pyramid of Giza. You can look at the pyramid of Pacal, and you will see that they got the L-shaped stairway in them goddamn pyramid leading down to the king's chamber. And what is the likelihood that when you go into Pacal right here in the Americas, that this man was buried in a stone sarcophagus? You see what I'm saying? Buried in a stone sarcophagus with hieroglyphics on the motherfucker. You see what I'm saying? Buried in, but that's not all, because not only do they got the pyramid, to be clear that Egypt, Africa is the only continent with the true pyramid. Because once we understand geometry, a pyramid come to a point, smooth on all sides. So only in Africa do you find the true pyramid. Okay, we call all these, because people, you lower the standard to get a motherfucker on the team. You feel what I'm saying? But if you keep the standards high, there's only pyramids in Africa. Okay, let's be clear about it. A pyramid is a triangle. Now, if you took that shit to geometry class, the things that you call in a pyramid, you'll fail. But not only did they have the pyramids, they had the stone sarcophaguses, And the Olmecs, along with the Egyptians, along with the Minoans, the Crete on the island of Crete was the only ancient people that had a hieroglyph. You see, as a hieroglyph. It ain't a whole lot of people got a hieroglyph. So you got the Egyptians, you got the Minoans, and you got the Olmec. Okay. Now another thing that is clear is the stela. You see the stone slab that's rounded off at the top. Sometimes they could be square, where they make a decree. They write, some information on it. It's a decree, but it's made the same goddamn way. A stone slab that they could put in front of the pyramid. They could put it in front of a statue, but it's a stone slab with rounded off at the top. This stela, the Rosetta Stone is a stela. You see what I'm saying? It's broken off at the top, but it would have been rounded off at the top. You find that all over the world. Okay, even the Vikings had stela. You see what I'm saying? But why is this? Because Egypt, the Nile Valley, just like America, the blueprint of civilization today is really Western. When you look at the downtown, when you look at the cities and how they laid out today with roads and goddamn highways and traffic lights and downtowns and all of that shit, nigga, that's Western. Okay? In the ancient world, Egypt was the blueprint for civilization all over the world. The same way. And people just got to come to understand that. Even when you look at the heads, and the crazy thing about the Olmecs, that when you talk about you got the Mississippi mound culture, the Hopewell culture, that was a mound culture too. All of that was an extension of the Olmecs. All of that was an extension of the Olmecs. Okay, and there's no doubt that them Olmecs came from the Nile, because when they got here, they had no development stage. You see what I'm saying? They were already building goddamn, they was already building pyramids. The oldest pyramid was like 100 feet in the sky. You see what I'm saying? They didn't start small. When the Olmec got here, they were already building on a large scale. When you look at them Olmec heads, that was when they got here. That's, the earliest part of the culture. They were already carving heads. Now, when you look at them heads, some of them heads is like 50 tons. You see what I'm saying? They cut that goddamn stone out of the mountains. And just like the Egyptians, they sailed that damn head down out of the mountains. I think it was a couple hundred miles from where, I believe it was about 200-300 miles from where they put them. You see what I'm saying? That's not a science that you could come up with in a year or two. You couldn't even come up with that science in hundreds of years. You know what I'm saying? The way they carved them heads was so exquisite that them people have been carving heads for thousands of years to get that exquisite with the way they carved them. And those are the oldest heads. And the crazy thing about it, nobody was ever able to duplicate them before or after. So when they got here, they was most definitely straight up out of the school system. You see what I'm saying? They were straight up out of the school system. And when they lay in the crazy shit about it, it's a lot of white people already know now that the largest pyramid field, Teotihuacan, that's Olmec. They got an Olmec head in front of it, but they didn't fuck with it. You see what I'm saying? They didn't fuck with it, but they never show y'all that head. But it's a head that's right in front of it. And they say it didn't been weathered by, they try to blame it on the weather, that the weather didn't fuck with it and you can no longer tell what it is and shit. But the thing is, the same stones that they used on Teotihuacan is also on this other pyramid that they call Cholula. Now, Cholula is supposed to be the largest pyramid, and it's a mound. It's not a pyramid. It's a mound. And they put stones around the mound, but it's a mound. Okay, so when people get to talking about mounds up here, and it was stones on these mounds up in North America. It was stones on some of these mounds up here. All of the mounds wasn't just bare. They had some stone on them, but these Europeans, when they came over here, being disrespectful, like they did in Africa, some of them stones, them Arabs removed. They removed off of the pyramids. They removed off the temples to go build other shit. So when a lot of these Europeans got over here, they took some of the stone off of the mound. So they had stone on them. You see, but that, to show you that the Olmecs, what they call the Mississippi mound culture, is an extension of the Olmec. It's an extension of the Olmec, period. They ruled that whole Gulf of what they call Mexico or whatever. They ruled that whole Gulf. You see what I'm saying? But the stone Sakai, they even had Sphinx. They even had the Sphinx. You see what I'm saying? With the Olmec face, and they had the body of a jaguar. They had everything that ancient Egypt had, man. This was an Egypto-Kushite, and it's another thing over there in Peru, where they got them large stones over there outside of Machu Picchu. But this is further down on the ground. And these stones is like 100 tons, and they cut them in zigzags and shit. You see, and the only place on the planet where you could see you got to be a cold motherfucker to cut 100-ton stone in zigzags in different geometrical design and fit them all together like that. The only place on the planet where they did that shit successfully for 3,000 years was ancient Egypt. Man, there's so much shit that they didn't identify now. They know for a fact that the whole world was, blueprint, even though they had their uniqueness. The reality is at that time that the majority of the whole world, just like the whole world today, is on a Western blueprint. And at that time, it was on the Egyptian Kushite blueprint. Ain't no getting away from that. Ain't no motherfucking getting away from that. And see, the thing is, they telling on themselves now. They telling on because they really telling us, like all them cathedrals that you see in Europe, all them Gothic cathedrals, they admitting that they didn't even build them now. That's why they coming up with that fucking Tartarian and, a civilization. They trying to say it was a civilization that was here before the medieval period, and that all these structures that you see, these Gothic cathedrals, they were built at a different period. The reality is, just like Walter Williams, them cathedrals was built by the descendants of the ancient Egyptians. They carried the knowledge of that ancient architecture even into goddamn Europe. They was the ones that built them damn cathedral, because when you look at the blueprint for the cathedral, it's the same as the Egyptian pyramid. I done already showed y'all that. So what the fuck is people talking about, man? You can't, this science been advancing for, man, tens of thousands of years. You cannot do it even in 1,000 years, develop that science. So the only people that you could give credit, because the Egyptians did it and the Kushites did it for over 3,000 years, continuously. Most everybody else got a stone here, a stone there. You see, they got a wall here, a wall there. You see, that's all they got. But in Egypt, you got thousands of megalithic structures. You see what I'm saying? So Egypt was the platform where people could go to school, and if you was black, you couldn't get in if you wasn't black. So I know for a fact, I don't have to debate with nobody, that the founders of the great civilization of America, whether people was here or not before, I'm talking about the civilization part. I'm talking about when they start constructing goddamn megalithic structures and sky. I don't know nothing about nothing before that, and nobody else. You can find a bone, but bones don't talk. You see what I'm saying? You can find some shit. We talking about when there's writing, where there's pictures, where there's, you know what I'm saying? You got a level of civilization where you can look at some shit. You know, when they got murals on the wall and you can kind of like, just like a picture book, you can kind of get an idea of what they was trying to say to you. I mean, we talking about civilization. So most people, they caught up. You see what I'm saying? When, you know, a lot of people just can't accept the fact of how great Egypt was. And, you know, they just can't accept it. But the reality is, like I say, many white people done just threw in the towel. They done threw in the towel. They used to fight, now they agree. And I done heard, you know, and I seen white boys, and they some, you know, they ain't gifted like the general, but they done been to all these megalithic structures all over the world, and they have documented the similarities in this shit all over the world. You feel what I'm saying? All over the world. Ain't no motherfucker picking up no 100-ton, no 200-ton, no 300-ton blocks without a hell of a fucking technology. Now you tell me where they, and so because people don't want to acknowledge ancient Egypt and Kush for what it is, motherfuckers go to space to try to figure out, well, you know, they probably was from outer space and shit and this, that, and the third. That's a bunch of bullshit. That's a bunch of bullshit. You see what I'm saying? So, but, you know, that's just, you know, straight off the, you know, commentary but I could easily show y'all. Y'all know I can. You see what I'm saying? You know I can. And I'll show you, you know, the Neanderthals that's throwing in this towel. They saying it's African. They saying it. You understand what I'm saying? When you look at the blocks, these Masons, they be putting their signature on the blocks. And the crazy shit about it, the same blocks that they seen in fucking Peru, they seen in Easter Island. Megalithic blocks. And they got the pictures online where they showing the same fucking design. Even they got a little, now you got these big ass 100-ton, 200-ton blocks. And in the middle of it, they all zigzag. They got a little ass block in between all these big ass blocks. It stand out because it don't look like it's no bigger than a shoebox. And then they go to the same megalithic stone wall in Peru, and they show you these big ass blocks, and they show you that same little small motherfucking block, like the size of a shoebox. In that it was the same fucking design. So the same architects that was in Peru, which is the Olmec, and they don't tell people that. You see what I'm saying? They know. When they show the Olmecs, they show you the little part in Mexico but the reality is they know that the Olmec even went into South America. And I can show you but they call it a different name. They call it the potbelly culture. You see, they call it, but it's Olmec, and they'll say it's Olmec. So they know the Olmecs even went into South America, and they went into North America. You see what I'm saying? The motherfucking Olmecs ran all this shit over here for a long fucking time. That's the reality. You see? And they came, the culture was Nile Valley. And how you gonna build, like, you got Teotihuacan with 3 fucking pyramids like Giza, even with the fucking, the smaller pyramids on the side. Now, the one thing I didn't say about Cholula, which is it was built the same as Teotihuacan. If y'all don't know what that's the largest pyramid field in Americas. 3 pyramids, the Pyramid of the Sun, Pyramid of the Moon, and then you had the Pyramid I think it was Quetzalcoatl. You know, it was the smallest pyramid. You see, but the design of Teotihuacan was the same as the design of Cholula, the same rocks. And now the thing about Cholula, it had the Olmec head in front of it. It wasn't as exquisite as the ones you see on the internet, but it was an Olmec head. And it had the tire, it had, for the lips, it had like it was like race car tracks, you know what I'm saying? Big, thick ass lips. And the same face at that pyramid, when you go to, it's called San Lorenzo. That was the first city of the Olmecs. La Venta was the second city of the Olmecs. At San Lorenzo, they found most of the Olmec heads. You see what I'm saying? And I think they found like, how many heads was it? About 17 heads. They found damn near, out of the 17, 18 heads that they found, I believe damn near 10 of them was at San Lorenzo. That's where they found most of them at. And in that museum, the wide lips, just like you see at Chicula, was at San Lorenzo. So in this other sites that was the Olmecs, that they'll tell you that was the Olmec, but they don't even show people that because they don't want y'all to know how extensive it was. And the way they designed the pyramid, not only they'll have right in front of the pyramid, they'll have a courtyard. If you look at a Saqqara pyramid, you will see right in front of that pyramid is a ceremonial courtyard. If you go to goddamn Teotihuacan, you got the ceremonial courtyard. You go to La Venta, you got even when you go up into in North America where they had the largest Cahokia, right in front of that great mound in Cahokia, they had a goddamn ceremonial courtyard. So all these temples, all of these cathedrals, all of these pyramids is designed the same fucking way in ancient Egypt. We're not getting away from these facts. It's just no way to get away from it. Now, we can go and see most people that they're not going to discuss this because they're not on this level to discuss this. They're not on this level to discuss this, but it's real. You see what I'm saying? It's real. But anyway, family, that's my, and if you get over to Patreon, family, I'm going to do a visual tomorrow to show improve. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to show improve. It is what it is. If it ain't, please, it's no way for you to deny it. I can tell you that. You can go and and you figure it out. You have to let that shit settle in. And when it settle in, you're gonna be like, damn, the general most definitely dropped a heavy motherfucking mental on me. But anyway, I appreciate y'all family for being here again. Make sure y'all get over there, click one of them links, rate and drop. About 1,000 links, and then all of them is fire. Click them. Support the general. You feel what I'm saying? Support the general. Let me put this link in. Hold on. All right, there you go, family. Let me pin it up there. All right, appreciate y'all. We got one more for tonight, man. We just got to put some fire up there for the family so they can have something to listen to. Make sure y'all get over there to that 24-hour, 7-day live stream, because, man, there's some smoke on that motherfucker. I didn't even know I put that kind of fire up there. You see what I'm saying? I like, damn. I got to go up in there and get some of that shit off of there before goddamn, because boy, I'm going in on that. I say, goddamn, that's no chaser. That shit, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no motherfucking chase on it. All right, family. I'll see y'all in a minute. Arm yourself with knowledge. Bang on that wicked ass beast daily. Liberation through African education and confrontation. Boom. Black power.